Speaking of commitments, we're actually going to go live to a commitment with Joshua Mickens, an edge defender, the #1 player in the state of Indiana. We'll take you there, and we're going to talk a little bit about what whoever ends up with him is going to get. So first impressions, what kind of impact does a guy like Joshua Mickens make to whatever team he ends up with?
Yeah, the edge is one of those positions that I think developmentally coaching staffs have to be a bit more patient with. And he is one of those players that maybe eventually will be able to see the field and make an impact. Really long prospect, has that ability to seal the edge, has the pursuit skills to chase down quarterbacks, but also the ability to chase down ball carriers in the flats. And when you need him to maybe drop back in coverage, he can do that for you. But he's going to be able to go in there and get after the quarterback and chase the quarterback and make plays and put pressure on the offense. And that's the type of player that this next program, whoever he commits to, is going to be getting.
How big a need is a guy like this for Ohio State's defense, which is currently the favorite to land him right now?
I think it's interesting when you look at the height weight here, 6'5", 225. There's a reason why guys like him are so coveted. That body type screams, I can do whatever I want with him. And it really depends, 3-man front, 4-man front. You can do whatever you want with a guy like that because he screams versatility. But it's also, when you look at him and you ask, well, why is he not a top 10, top 15 player? Well, first off, it's really hard to be that. There is a ton of future first-round NFL quality talent that's sitting here somewhere in the range that Joshua Mickens is. But the other part of it is, when we talk about Ohio State right now, you're not talking about lack of explosivity offensively. You're not talking about lack of depth at running back. We're talking about their defensive front and their need to maybe overhaul at those positions. I say plural because it's not just this position, but this would greatly help. They won the Penn State game because of their ability to get after the quarterback and change games that way.
Yeah, and when you factor in the importance that this recruiting battle would have for the Buckeyes, you lose Keon Keeley to Alabama. He had been committed to Notre Dame, but you were in that battle for such a long time. And then obviously the buzz for Mateo Uiagalelei to end up at Oregon on signing day. This commitment, this announcement is huge for Ohio State at that edge position.
Sounds like he is getting ready to commit right now, having some technical difficulties. We will take you there. There he is, just waiting. Oh no, I was hoping to go through some hat science here with Blair, who is our hat science expert. Blair, what do we make of no hats out right now?
Well, it looks like we do have some hats. They're just maybe a little too close to the camera. But yeah, that's one of the things, right, that we always look for on National Signing Day. You know, which hat looks attractive? Sure. Which one will he pick up? Is the player left-handed? Is he right-handed?
Oh
which one's he going to choose? I am still waiting for the day when, you know, we see a recruit and we see now Joshua Mickens there with his hats a little closer to the table, when he will throw us for a curveball and those are his high school. Those are his high school hats.
Those are two of the same hats.
So I love this from Joshua Mickens. He is throwing us for a loop here, and you know, that's obviously a great moment for him.
Yeah, I wonder what their mascot is. I'm not quite sure. I think it's the Bears. Not too sure here. But Josh, we've seen so many exciting commitments. We talk about the pancakes that came out with Okunlola. Those look delicious, the green ones, maybe not so much. We've seen live gators. Put yourself in those shoes. What would you do if you were making a commitment? What would you bring out?
You really want to know?
I really want to know, yeah.
Well, at Pate State, our mascot is the phrase.
It is. Train.
I would commit in a boxcar. That's exactly what I would do. I am not bringing anything to my commitment. I am taking my commitment to the rails. The high iron, as we say in train hopping lore. So, I don't think anyone would ever match that because, quite frankly, I don't think anyone would be interested in matching that. Put me on a flatbed, put me in a boxcar, I'm good.
Okay, well, how do you do the reveal then? Do you do a hat, or is the entire boxcar like colored with your team?
And I know this is where you were going to go eventually. Probably blow the horn in Morse code and really make you dive deep and figure it out. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
it's a thinking man's
If I'm going to ask this question to Josh, actually, you are so lucky you don't have to answer this question. We're going to go to Joshua Mickens again. I think he is ready to pick a hat. There's a thumbs up. A thumbs up is definitely a good sign. Okay, Blair, when we take a look at what he's about to do here, he's maybe going to pick up one of the Bears hats. Not quite sure. Are we feeling pretty solid, though, about Ohio State?
You have to like their chances, and you have to like the type of player and the fit that they have there at Ohio State. The Buckeyes do a great job of developing that position, and certainly he should be considered a favorite.
All right, Joshua, we are having trouble hearing you, but we can't wait to hear what your decision is. So go ahead. Oh, all right. Show us where you're going, Joshua. Excited to... Unfortunately, we cannot hear him, but we will hopefully find out what he is doing soon enough. Again, the hat's kind of throwing us off here. Not quite sure what he is going to do here, but again, we're feeling pretty good about Ohio State, LSU, another team in the mix. Anybody who ends up with Joshua Mickens will be a very happy coach, a very happy team. When you look at what this day is like, you assume he is surrounded by family, he's got his ladies there, you know, he's got friends, and everybody excited to see what this decision is. And I know when we look at NIL and what happens across the college football landscape and everything going on and rankings, and we rate these players, but ultimately, Blair, this is just a really monumentous day in these young kids' lives.
Yeah, I've been able to, and have had a chance to go to a number of signing day announcements, sometimes 2 or 3 in a single span of a day, and it's a huge day. And here he is, and there it is, Ohio State, the hoodie underneath the jacket. So he didn't go with the hats, but and you got family with Ohio State there. So a huge win for Ryan Day, a huge win for Larry Johnson, the defensive line coach, and Joshua Mickens gives Ohio State a huge win there.
There you've got it. Joshua Mickens, 4-star edge, the #1 player in the state of Indiana, is not going too far, heading to Ohio State. Excited to see what impact he makes on that defense. Josh, we got Blair's reaction in real time because it happened. He did the zip. I don't know if you have any thoughts on jacket science here, but what are your initial thoughts? Joshua Mickens to Ohio State.
Well, I think it's classy, first off. Secondly, I think it's really interesting. We're starting to get a taste now. If there is any kind of maybe moderate to significant overhaul in the personnel they go after defensively, because it's a new defensive staff still, less than a year old there, I wouldn't say that this is necessarily a hallmark of that, but at the very least, you're starting to acquire the pieces that you want instead of walking in the door and just kind of taking what they have to offer you. Now, it is not a poor man's job by any stretch to take either side of the football in Columbus, Ohio, because you got a lot of good ingredients to work with, but now we start to see that defensive staff get their ingredients to work with. Good player. There's a reason his offer list looked like it did. There's a reason why we were willing to sit there when we couldn't hear him and read lips. I mean, you were over there. You didn't toss to me because I was trying to read the lips, which is tough to do, by the way, if you've never tried it. But Ohio State gets a really good player there. And I also think it's important what Blair just said. They missed out on Keon Keeley. And so that's why maybe if you're a fan, you pay attention to your team's top targets. That is not the way you recruit. You've got to have that war room. If you've ever been blessed enough, and they men in black you right after you walk out, but if you ever get to walk in the war room of these recruiting staffs and you look at that grease board, it's not a couple of names. It is from top of ceiling to all the way down to the floor, and they've got kids from all over the country, some of whom I sound like Ivans. I've never even heard of this kid. Who is that kid? They're on that board because if you miss on those top targets, you got to be able to go deep, and sometimes you got to do it really, really quickly.
And that's why the programs like Ohio State, the Alabamas, the Georgias, the LSUs, the ones that we see at the top of the recruiting rankings, that's why they're able to pivot as quickly as they do when they miss on maybe their top tier targets or those 5 stars that they had highest on the board. Joshua Mickens is certainly a player that is going to be able to give them an opportunity to develop him. Maybe not an instant impact player like a Keon Keeley or a Mateo Uiagalelei because of their physical traits are already maybe more translatable to the college level, but Mickens has that ability that maybe 2-3 years down the road you wonder, why wasn't he a 5-star?